very welcome. But it's delightful to have you here tonight. Proper welcome to TWOOMPH. It's the first open mic night of the year for us with the TWP, Tees Women Poets, up in the Northeast. We do a monthly open mic online, and it is a lush little space. If this is your first time, you're so welcome. If it's your 100th time, that would be impressive. I don't think we've done 100 yet. But like, it's lovely to have you. I'm your host for tonight. I'm a full-time poet and storyteller, which means I get to work with words and people every day. And I love my job. I've performed all over the UK for the BBC. And today I have been preparing for a storm, doing lots of other things and trying to suggest to my puppy very kindly that she doesn't want to eat the leads. She thinks this is a bit outrageous, and apparently I am entering the waiting room. That's very confusing. Right, so anyway, it's lovely to have you. So if you've not joined us before, this is how it works. We'll have some readers for you. The words are going to come up on screen. So you can follow it if that's useful for you. There's also a transcription, which you can turn on if that is helpful for you as well. If you are not interested in the words, you can diminish or slide that across to make it smaller so you can look at someone's face, big and beautiful, on your screen. If you are horrified by people's faces on your screen, you can slide it across so you see mostly words. That is totally acceptable. Just don't tell anyone. Be a bit mean. And then there will be a break in the middle of the session, which is usually called shenanigans, and it is where I ask us to do something a bit silly, so you can get involved or not, entirely up to you. We'll also have a comfort break at that point, and then we'll have some more readers, and then we'll be finishing up roughly around 8 p.m. Usually in the summer, that's early enough for Butcher's Bake Off if you're interested, various other things if you're interested in those, but usually just a bit of an awkward time, so that you know, you're not really sure if you've got any evening left. Don't really know. Point is, you'll have had a lovely time with us, so it's fine. So without further ado, let me introduce Anne Cuthbert to you. So Anne is from Darlington. She writes poetry and prose of as many types as she can try out. She enjoys discovering new approaches as well as revisiting more traditional ones. She runs a monthly writers sharing event in Darlington. Ask her for details. We'll have a little sharing space later that you can tell us about what you're up to. So please go completely wild for her in the chat, in the thing, and as she comes to the microphone.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Right, so that's my first poem, yes. I have been doing some workshops recently with Bob Beagrie, who is a local poet, and some of the work that we've been doing has been based on using yourself as a source, and also being introduced to some, well, for me, new poets, one of whom was Robert Creeley. And I wrote this as a sort of, I based my poem on the structure of his poem, but sort of went off in my own direction. It's called Self-Portrait after Robert Creeley. She wants to be cantankerous, as cross as two sticks snapped from a leafless tree that lie together but don't touch, scabby lichened on the cemetery path. She wants to be crabby, wants to rant, gnarled fingers, pincers, waving the fucked world away. Let her be liverish. She deserves it, has had it with the platitudes, eyes yellowed by media cant. She wants to crack with rage, be a splenetic Rumpelstiltskin, stamp her bunioned feet into the earth. So that's my first poem. The second one is not about me. It's actually about my English teacher. Well, it was a long time ago. I had an English teacher who was called Miss Rogers, Elizabeth Rogers, but we used to call her Bessie. And what I liked about her was she used to make us learn poems in English, and then she also taught music. So we used to sing them in the music lessons. And she was a very interesting person. She taught all over the world, really. So this is called Elegy for Bessie. Bessie, in bow-legged tweed skirt, buttoned up old maid, you think. But look, she's levitating, leaving the school hall parquet floor, hands raised, crying, lift it, girls. She's cleared the piano, is above the wall bars. Baton waving, she hovers near the ceiling. Quick, the window pole, open up a pathway. All we can see now are the flat soles of her sensible brown shoes. And she's through. She's wheeling, word spinster, melody weaver, off to find the gull's way and the whale's way and a star to steer her by. On a bat's back I do fly, she sings, venturing merrily, merrily into the unknown. And oh, the call of the sky. And you might recognize some of those. I was once able to recite Sea Fever from top to bottom, but not anymore. So it was John Masefield, William Shakespeare, and Gerald Gould, who I featured in my poem there. The final one that I've got for you tonight is based on a poem by Bob Beagrie called Creation Myth. And in that poem, Bob was imagining himself being born from the River Tees, Peg Powler giving birth to him. And I thought that sounds like, I like that idea. I really was taken with this idea of, well, how was I created? And I thought, well, what can I do about this? My mother came from a very Catholic background, Irish Catholic, and my grandmother was very, very religious on that side. On the other side, they weren't really religious on my dad's side, but he was very keen on Westerns and he was very keen on playing his guitar and singing cowboy songs. So this is what came out of that. This is what I created. Creation Myth after Bob Beagrie. They sing me into being, a strange hybrid antiphon. High Mass meets High Noon. Regina Chaley bumps into the cowboy who loved you so true. Backing vocals, Ellie and the Calic. Rattle rosaries, shake up the coals with a wrought iron poker. They've hung the walls with holy pictures, strewn sheet music like road maps on the floor. Bonnie, Bonnie, they croon, but I'm having none of it. The Queen stretches out her arms, fingers clenching and unclenching, radiates Lammas light, 15 degrees of Leo. The loaf is baked, the bilberries are ripe. In the corridor, the cowboy is strumming, and the red river carries me through. Waxed with vernix and slippery as a six-shooter, soft as the smoke from a votive candle's prayer, while a deity duo weave their counterpoint of welcome. Yippee-i-oh and alleluia, alleluia, and yippee-i-ay. Thank you.
Absolutely glorious and beautiful start to our evening. Thank you so much. And thank you also for your grace under pressure when we had a delightful, not very good graffiti artist. If anyone got a random message as well in the chat, I'm so sorry. Please let us know, but also know that they are not here anymore. And yes, so please do let either Homero or I know if they did target you. But hopefully we get to kind of carry on and just enjoy some more words tonight. So without further ado, let me introduce you to S. Reesum. So S is 58 and bisexual. They have been published by the Poetry Society, Bloomsbury One World, and their work has appeared in over 20 independent publications and anthologies, most recently in Ink, Sweat and Tears. When not creating, they are very close to being able to deadlift their body weight, which is incredibly impressive, by the way, very impressive, and also have fantastic links for electrolytes and various other things post blood donation. So please do look them up for many things. So please go absolutely wild for them as they come up to the microphone.
Right, good evening, everybody. My day job at the moment is also looking after a Zoom room. So top work, that was very well done. Both of these poems are part of a project that I started in a room with Jen in December, as it happens. This has gone off to my mentor now to be looked at, and both of these pieces of work are going to be published next week. So actually not a bad start to the year, all told. So I thought I'd bring these two with me. This is the first one, and this is called Respect Does Not Make History. I am a series of contradictions, layered, buffered, woven round the gentle lapping of the turning tide. The need to be considered, to be delivered before all of this breaks down, shingle and the flotsam pushing shell aside. And as I balance the consequences of inequality, everything around truth, my respect tends to see. History, waving back, longing, the constant of becoming. Beside the shell pushing flotsam and shingle, there is nothing left to hide. I am a swell, injustice. The turning tide is interrupted. Nothing matters now except to sing on spec. History should not expect, demand, respect. This next poem, only doing two. This next poem began its life in the space that I'm actually now very lucky to oversee, a place called the Writing Hours, which is in its 4th year now. Poets Kim Moore and Claire Shaw sit with between 250 and 300 poets every day, giving daily prompts and kind of organizing stuff so that people can learn to write, or they can get better at writing, or they can just sit and listen. It has everything. This poem began, I think it's 2022 one. I've been going for 4 years now. And it's after a very famous poem by Matthew Sweeney called The Room. And it's called The Home of a Culprit. A mind, a dozen doorways, each one papered over, perhaps nailed shut. Beneath frail means to seal them. Double doors with panes knocked out. The culprit before lived there, happy, screaming in and out of frames, dolls in rows, Lego castles. Once a goldfish lived inside a bowl before, next day, was dead. Then 1/2 mile from utter beauty, it was the time to run away, never returning here to play, burying the keys to time. A space grew dark, smelt musty. As a child, coughing, couldn't breathe. Threats rose in a warning. You cannot escape history. The hurt won't let you leave. CBT made me go back in after dark. Each sin, indescribability came out, began to leak within, to be remembered once again. Everything before, still here on the walls, drawn on floors, in the picture as a truth, returned from far away. Nobody ever entered this space, except for me. Once, it was a prison, but now they are set free. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Go absolutely wild for the fantastic S reason. Woo! Thank you very much. Fantastic. I love having people I haven't heard before. This is amazing. Ah, lush. Thursday nights are good. Is it Thursday? I don't know. Whichever night it is, it's a good night. I'm really pleased, enjoying it. All right, let me introduce you to the wonderful Nina Parmenter. So Nina Parmenter lives in the rural southwest of England. A huge science fiction fan, whoop, whoop. Her poems explore the surreal and improbable alongside themes of nature, the environment, and womanhood. Nina's first collection, Split Twist Apocalypse, was published by Indigo Dreams in 2022. Please go absolutely wild for her as she comes to the microphone.
Thank you very much. I'm just waiting for, oh, look, you've made them very pretty. How lovely. Charles Darwin, let's get straight to it. Charles Darwin, by all accounts, wasn't a massively attractive man, physically, and really not my type. Was quite arrogant, quite misogynistic, his hobby was to kind of go along to salons and impress everybody with how intelligent he was. So not really a goer for me, but he was a proponent of some of the most sort of beautiful ideas that we still have today. And I think it's the ideas I'm chasing as I pursue him in this poem. Kiss Chase with Darwin. You huge bearded hulk, I would pursue you through Galapagos, around the coasts of Brazil. I would pull up short of your cheek, bring you to the 21st century, show you a good time in South Kensington. Can you imagine tracing the DNA strands of a diprotodon? Oh, the absolute filth of it. Come on, you strange sexist man obsessed with breeding. Kiss a final goodbye to God. Grab my prehensile hand and run. The next one is probably about trying to fit into kind of a mold that you don't really feel you fit. In my case, that of an angel. So here we are in a changing room, and I chose my poems last night. So as I said earlier, I saw Jen post about this on Facebook and signed up. So I chose my poems last night, and then this morning I woke up and thought, oh, I've got to do a voice for this poem. So do bear with me. I try on my angel dress. Does it fit? Asks the assistant, tugging at the curtain like a mother's skirt, sticky-fingered and breathless. Her face pops through the velvet, puff-cheeked. Does it squeeze? She slurps. It is indeed tight across the chest. But does it cause arrhythmia? She urges. Does it press so tight that fire grows in your breastbone until you cannot even think? Does it bring to mind the birth canal with its beginnings and, dare I say, its ends? It does a little, I say. A little? She exclaims. A little? Gabriel, fetch the size 6. She smiles at me, teeth dribbling. Call us old-fashioned, she says. But we do like to constrict. The last one, I thought I would do a rhymer. So this one was published earlier in the year by Light Poetry magazine. And you'll see what it's about as I read it. But the form is something I like to call a double espresso. So it's like an Italian sonnet on acid. It's called I Am Wearing Too Many Hats. I stack them on my head, but down they fall. Sombreros, trilbies, caps. Do I look cute and comical? I'm not. I am a brute, a hydra. Tear my hats off and they all grow back. I thrash, I cry, I caterwaul, I scream, retreat! Alas, I'm no Canute. Fedoras, bowlers, snoods, they're taking root. They're taunting me, they're spilling from my hall. They filled my car, my mind. Sometimes I try to pass them off as currency. No joy. I gift them, they come back to me. I toy with chopping off my head, suspecting I am nothing but a mannequin, piled high with hats. And so, unable to destroy this fez, this cloche, this sailor hat, ahoy! I stack and juggle. Luckily, some guy who knows a thing or six is passing through. He's only got one hat, admittedly, but plenty of advice. Just look at me, he boasts, one hat, and you can do it too. See, when I have too many hats in life, no problem. I just pass them to my wife.
Absolutely golden. Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Nina. Woo! Oh, fantastic. Wow. We have our final reader for the first half, and this is our spotlight. So obviously, usually we have a 5-minute spotlight, a 5-minute slot for our open micers, and every single time we have a headliner who's marvelous. Got Jen later, really going to enjoy their work. But a spotlight is a little bit longer with someone to shout about. So we've got the wonderful Wright for you tonight. Let me tell you about Erin. So Erin is a multiple slam winning poet who recently won the Born Lippy Slam and the Battle of the Ballot at Alphabetti Theatre, as well as winning the last poet standing at Morecambe Poetry Festival. Erasmus Croc is his manager and mentor and is also the world's first crocodile poet. They have just finished a successful run of workshops and an open mic showcase at Weardale Wordfest in Stanhope. They appear regularly in spoken word nights throughout the Northeast, as well as slinging words in places such as Morecambe Bay and Sydney, Australia. They've just been featured on Emma Mullen's Best of 2024 BBC Upload show of BBC Radio Newcastle and Tees. So please go absolutely wild as he comes to the microphone.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Aaron Wright. This is my manager and mentor, Erasmus Croc. He'll be joining in, and he's also prepared a few props, so it's quite unpredictable. I don't even know what he's prepared. So, welcome to Poetry Flight TWOOMPH 001, operated by Tees Women Poets, guided by Sherston Luckens. Your pilot tonight is Rue Collins, and your flight engineer is Humaira Imtiaz. I hope I said that right. Even if you are a seasoned poet or a spoken word newbie, we would like you to pay full attention to the following safety instructions. Please note the exits are here, 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 and there, should you wish to escape in the event of a poetry emergency. This will usually involve an urgent craving for fags, coffee, food, or booze. Please make sure your coat is stowed securely on the back of your chair so it don't fall off and the person behind you has to pick it up from the floor and say, "Excuse me, you dropped your coat." If there is a catastrophic loss of atmosphere during a poetry reading, the panels above your seat will drop down like so. Yep, I didn't expect that proper thing. And place the mask over your head, nose like this, fasten securely, and breathe. If it fails to appear, then carefully adjust your smile, look ahead, and wait for the awkward silence to pass. You may hear some risque words during the evening, such as shite and bollocks. Please do not be alarmed. The poet is expressing their right to self-expression and freedom of speech. Whenever the no phone sign is on, please ensure that you switch your mobile to poetry mode so it don't interfere with the smooth running of the performance. And any unscheduled interruptions can result in the cataclysmic breakdown of the performer. If you hear the instructions brace, brace during the duration of the poem and find yourself floating in the water with a life jacket on next to the wreckage of an airliner, you've clearly been overdoing it recently and you might need to calm down. And finally, we would ask you to be fully appreciative of our poets and open micers and respond with whoops and applause to those who are brave enough to step up to the mic. And please, we urge you to refrain from finger clicking. Don't be a twat. What are you doing that for? Thank you for your attention, and we hope you enjoy this flight, which has been brought to you via TWOOMPH Poetry Flight TWOOMPH 001, operated by Tees Women Poets Airways and your flight crew, Sherson, Ruth, and Hamira. We hope you have a great night. So he's going to perform now, aren't you? Yeah. So this is called Rhythm and Poetry, rap for short. Don't call me a beat poet, a meat poet. I just want a Greek poet, just running with my mouth and not with my feet poet. I'm a rap poet, a rhyme poet, a sometimes in time poet. I keep to the rhythm, a grit teeth and grime poet, a pub poet, a dub poet. There's a rub poet. I'm quoting a note in the night in the club poet. Some poets don't know it, they fluff it and blow it, but most words will flow it, and don't you just know it? We break beats on mean sweets, we tweet tweets and eat treats, we greet and sweet seats. Our words ain't no mean feats. So please don't get so uppity or rhyming words and puppetry while sipping up your cup of tea. Your face, it looks so muppety. It's all about the spoken word dexterity and to have the temerity. And that, my friends, is what we call a rap. Okay. So, short poem now. Yes, this is my poem. We are what we run from. I ran to escape the many tentacled monsters that crept in my mind. I crossed great rivers and moved many mountains. I traveled to far-flung places, flung by whom I do not know. I circumnavigated the globe to every crowded city, to every desert island, yet I still could not escape my demons, because ultimately, when we run, we are what we run from. Profound that, wasn't it? Yes, it was indeed. Okay, so this is a poem that I started off my spoken word journey with a long time ago. It's called Slug. Erasmus is going to be the slug. Can I just say no slugs were harmed in the making of this poem? What's the point in you, slug? You come slithering up my sink. It's an invasion of my plug hole, sends me teetering to the brink. I step out my front door into the lawn that time forgot, and my feet are bare and sore. I hit a lump of living snot. I wriggle toes in sheer disgust. It sticks like gooey oil, a blatant breeze of tactile trust. It squishes, I recoil. Now, snails, I can understand the delicacy of the French. But slugs, those tarts are underhand. My gut churns with a wrench. I mean, what's with all the different colours? It's all a cunning ruse. Some green, some brown, some purple, some red. It's like a living bruise. Now, dealing with those globs of goo, it really is no joke. And I tried to use my best kung fu. And then that Slimer spoke. No, don't do it. I didn't mean to displease you. I minted the money that got the bling. I'm a straight-up diamond geezer. Shut up, you slug, I shouted, my face furrowed with a frown. With that, I squashed the little creep as I brought my best foot down. Wasn't really harmed in the making of that. So I was thinking of food now, and I thought, well, I'll start this off. I'm going to, bit of audience participation. I'll shout cheese and you can say toasty. Okay, so I'll start. Cheese, toasty, cheese. Cheese, toasty, you're the one I love the mosty. Such a delicious, fantastic feast, healthy, nutritious, sumptuous feast. So easy to make, straight from the pub. No need to bake, it's glorious grub. Just throw on some bread and top it with cheese. It'll taste, it'll bring you down to your knees. And for those more adventurous, not easily disgusted, smear some sauce with lashings of mustard. Slam down the iron, foreman or Breville. Wait a few moments and then you can revel in the sight of the steam, sound of the sizzle, melted cheese dreams starting to drivel. Open it up, peel off that sarnie, burnt mouth, it's hot. Don't say I didn't warn ye. Bite on down, taste buds flood, vampiric suck of cheesy blood. Eat, bite, chew, sape and swallow, eat, repeat. Time to wallow in toasty heaven. It tastes divine, but I'm not going to share because this sarnie's all mine. Thank you. So this is one I wrote recently. It's just on my Facebook feed. Just all this artificial AI generated images, and somebody called it slop. So I thought it was quite appropriate. AI slop, filling my feed. When's it gonna stop? You won't believe it. Just click on this, mate, because there's a genuine picture stirring up the hate. Unreal colors, false sky that lingers. Photos of people with too many fingers. Take all the images that have ever been posted. The algorithm will steal them. No pay, you've been ghosted. Expels them out in an unthinking plop. Makes a mockery of art. It's a huge AI slop. It copies itself and then it spews a swathe of lies and blatant fake news. Sorry, just to scroll down there. Blatant fake news. Impossible images, rainbow birds, blatant knockoffs like polished turds promoting fraud. It's AI's proclivity. Its ultimate goal is the death of creativity. AI slop, buyer beware, because it's never gonna stop. So we've got a couple of short ones, and then there's just one more after that. So this one is we've got some props here, which Erasmus is going to help me with. It's called I'm Not Made of Money. Okay. So I'm not made of money, I said to my kids the other day. And as usual, I made a lie of myself as my coin-stacked legs collapsed beneath me and my £5 note skin molted off like autumn leaves. And I've just noticed, actually, he's just gone and made like fake money, I guess, here, but I'm going to spend it. Well, you can't really do that, and you're appropriating some images there. Yeah, but I thought it was good. Okay. There's all sorts of stuff. Right, thank you. So we've got a little haiku next to Wolf. And then we've got one more poem after that. So haiku is called The Daily Grind, and as follows. We are human beings, powdered into submission by the daily grind. Thank you. So our last one, my daughter, she really loved her gerbils, because gerbils are great pets, but they don't last very long. So, we get, I think there's one way of kids being able to deal with losing pets, but we've had a few. So, but one of them actually spoke to me one day, so that's what this poem's about. Oh, gerbil, I never thought to ask today what you were thinking. And you can imagine my utter surprise when you spoke. Had I been drinking? You chattered and put forward theories, creating nuclear fusion, ending world hunger, and you espoused a complex algorithm, reversing time, making all life younger. Then you went back to your wheel, shushed me and squeaked, no ifs or buts. And that was the only time you spoke, because now you nibble and gnaw on nuts. So that's our last poem. We've got a shameless plug now, which Erasmus, of course, I asked him to make a shameless plug and he came up with that. Impressive, isn't it? Yeah, it is, of course. So we've got some social media links there. We've got our book that we've written together called Poetry of the Slug. It's on Amazon for £5. And yeah, and we're actually we've got a couple of gigs coming up. Actually, we've got a gig in Nottingham, speech therapy. Is that near Derby? I think it is. So that's coming up in February. So thank you very much for listening to our Anarchy, and yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much. Bye.
Amazing. Please unmute yourselves. Go absolutely wild for Aaron Wright. Woo!
Woo!
Aaron, thank you so much for doing such a marvelous final bit before our shenanigans and comfort break. Oh, what a lovely first half. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us so far. Fantastic writers. So what happens now is that I'm going to tell you what our shenanigans are for tonight, and basically it's a little prompt or activity that you can do or not. It's entirely up to you. And then we'll have a comfort break and you'll have a bit of a chance to do it as well at the same time. So tonight is a 10-word tickle. Just going to remove the spotlight so we can all see each other again. There we go. It's a 10-word tickle. Now let me explain. What tickles your mind when I say the word dragon? I'd like you to make a 10-word tickle out of that. Exactly 10 words, no more, no less, of what tickles your mind when I say the word dragon. It could be all descriptive. It doesn't have to be particularly poetic. It's just 10 words. That's literally the only rule. And once you've written it, I'd like you to write it in the chat. And the only other rule is that you are not allowed to put the word dragon in it. Okay, so 10-word tickle. When I say the word dragon, what tickles your mind? What comes to mind for you? What do you want to explore? What do you want to do with that? 10 words, no more, no less. You can't use the word dragon. And then you pop it in the chat afterwards and we'll see what we come up with. So I've just popped it. I'm going to put it for everybody in the chat. There we go. So if you couldn't hear me or you'd just like a chance to have a little look at the instructions again, you've got them. I'm going to give 10 minutes for that. So you're absolutely allowed to chat in the next 10 minutes. But what's going to be happening during that time is go get yourself a drink, get yourself comfortable. It's a comfort break. Absolutely chat. We can talk about the things variously. I'm going to disappear for a couple of minutes and then I'll be back again. And we have a quick question. Is it just a singular dragon you can't have? You just can't put the word dragon in any of those 10 words. So you couldn't have 9 other words and then one dragon. It's just no dragons are allowed specifically in those 10 words. But you're allowed to do anything else to do with the word dragons. Hope that helps. Also, it's a bit of silliness, but dragon or dragons plural. Yeah, no, sorry. Okay, that no dragons either. Just no, if those letters not allowed. Nothing. Nope. Nothing. And yeah, so hopefully that helps, and we will see you back in a few minutes. So about 22 minutes past, we will all be back together again for the second half and our wonderful headliner. Oh, fantastic. I'm seeing some excellent stuff. Amazing. Ooh, oh my gosh. Oh, fun. Okay, I'll start reading them out very shortly. Let me just quickly copy mine into the chat as well. I always really enjoy seeing what comes out of it for people because it's completely different depending on the person. There we go. Right. Oh, fun. Okay. So well done. I see no dragons, as in your words. Well done, everybody, for not putting dragons into the 10-word tickle. Here's mine. Inspired by a particularly boring colleague at work, says Caroline. Their voice unwelcome, like shit on shoes, did drag on. See what you did there. Excuse me. I do see what you did there. I mean, if we had some kind of penalty that we could impose, then it wouldn't be TWOOMPH, would it? Let's be honest. Very nice, very nice. All right, so Aaron says, who ties knots, even chains? Great beast, no opposable thumbs. Love it, thank you so much. Chris says, flailing tails, shiny scales, fiery fearsome, all alarmingly awesome, disarmingly charming. Love it. Catherine says, send in 7 to drive out demons, purging possession. Ooh. Jen says, 2 red coats, breath steaming on the way to school. Amazing. Fantastic. Anne says, twirly swirl of spiky ruff and tumble, you're so hot. Maz, Sister Anselm force feeding pea soup to uncivilized curry taste buds. Oh, what a memory. S says, I own 16 of them, but sadly none are real. I feel you. Aaron says, fire breathing, anger seething, forever deceiving, orange headed, chump trump. Cheryl says, terrifying, hovering beast with fearsome teeth and bad breath. I said, toothy legend, scales, milkwort, hissing death, thunder voiced, fiery breath. Pete says, 10 words from a kenning I'm writing about a worm plus an Anglo-Saxon translation. Oh, you get immediate extra points for saying kenning. Love it. Wind swimmer. I'm not going to try doing the Anglo-Saxon pronunciation of the words afterwards. We're going to just leave them there for your enjoyment. Wind swimmer, moon eater, death singer, waster, land waster, horse chewer, man breaker. Love it. And Janet says, doctors with plasters, bandages, splints, princesses with handy tinned mints, after Julia Donaldson. Dog, if you're not 3. Amazing. Guys, thank you so much. That was mint. I love it. And you basically made a really cool, weird little poem, which isn't it amazing how quickly and easily we managed to we made a poem. It's great. Which I love it. Thank you so much for doing that with me. Hopefully it got your brain going, and I sometimes find that weird constraints make me write differently. I don't know why, but really helpful. So thank you for getting involved with that. Amazing stuff. Hopefully we've got everyone back. We definitely have our headliner, which to be honest is the most important thing, because Jen's up next, guys. So if we've got Humera, I mean, that's also very important. So as soon as I know, I've got Humera. This is fine. We can all carry on. This is good. Okay, so now we've got Humera. Let me introduce you to Jen. So, Jen Feroze lives by the sea in Essex. Her work has been featured in publications including Butcher's Dog, Magma, Under the Radar, OK Donkey, Berlin Lit, and other poems, Black Iris, and The Interpreter's House. She won the 2024 Poetry Business International Book and Pamphlet Competition and placed second in the 2022-2023 Magma Editors Prize. Her pamphlet, Tiny Bright Thorns, was published in 2024 with 9 pens, and her next book, A Dress with Deep Pockets, is available to pre-order from Smith Doorstop. Jen likes cold water swimming, chunky knitwear, and cheese you can eat with a spoon. So please go absolutely wild for her as she comes to the microphone.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Oh, I've got a thing. I've got a headliney thing with my name on it. This is exciting. The first half was absolutely brilliant. and it's been great to hear such a lovely range of poems. And I'm immediately now nervous because I have to read mine, and you get the like, I'm fine, and then you suddenly get the wave of nerves. So we're going to shake it off, and it's all going to be fine. I'm going to read a few from all over the show tonight. We've got some from I Have to Do the Thing. Because it's a book, I have to hold up the book to show you the book. So I'm going to do a few from this one, which is Tiny Bright Thorns, that came out last year. And then a couple of other bits. And then I'm also going to do, I think possibly for the first time, certainly for the first time at a proper reading, some from my new book, which is coming out very soon, and which has its official online launch this Sunday. So you get a sneak preview, which is exciting. Okay, I'm going to stop wittering and start reading. And you make the slides look so beautiful. I love it. Typically, my children are now being incredibly noisy, so apologies for any background noise. This is for my daughter, who is the one currently screaming like a banshee outside my bedroom door. This was written for her when she was much smaller, but still just as loud. When at bedtime, I ask my daughter what she wants to be when she grows up, and she says, a fox. I could have smiled and said, no, darling, that's not what I meant. I could have proffered doctor, teacher, plumber, painter. Instead, I turn out the lights. Instead, I draw down stars and pines. Instead, we sharpen our teeth and lengthen our tails. We drink up the moonlight. And we careen around her bedroom, leaving paw marks like poems or prayers in a carpet of snow. I write a lot about my children, and at some point they're probably going to be really cross with me. But it's mostly very lovely things, and not necessarily all the ways in which they make me grit my teeth. This one comes from another 9 Pens pamphlet, which is from their 9 series anthology, which is where you submit a series of 9 poems on a theme, any theme you like. And then Colin, the brilliant editor there, will kind of see whether your 9 fit thematically or stylistically with other submissions that he's had. And if they do, he'll match you up. So I got paired up with the brilliant Jenny E. Owen and Ben Tufnell. And this collection is kind of a weird, spooky, there's like, my 9 are all based around children's books. And there's some haunted paintings. There's an absolutely nightmare-inducing one from Ben about a crocodile, which I feel like Erasmus maybe shouldn't read because he might get ideas. But it's it's a lot of fun. But my 9 are based around children's books. And this is a guzzle, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, after the brilliant Where the Wild Things Are. Mischief of one kind and another, after Maurice Sendak. The trees were first to spot him, gossipy. They said, wild. We didn't pay them much mind. After all, we were bred wild. He was wolf-pelted, baby-faced, a paper-crowned captain, smelling of soap, love, a warm gingerbread wild. We were old, tired, clothes sheathed, sleep ready. Strange that this slender child made us rumpus instead, wild. He danced us hypnotic, led us jungle deep, moon drunk, hooting and laughing, turned our calls and our tread wild. We'd forgotten this freedom, the flow of night in our blood. He awoke something in us we'd kept long unfed. Wild and thrumming, we loved him, we lifted him high, till he turned on his wolf's heels and suddenly fled wild. We chased him offshore, talons raking sea foam. Still, he sailed off and left us there, back to his bed wild. Some of us stand howling max to the dark sea, in and out of weeks, our throats keening red, wild. I love Where the Wild Things Are. Such a brilliant book. And like the last line about, his supper waiting for him, last page, and it was still hot, is just an absolute banger of an ending, I think. This one is kind of the title poem from Tiny Bright Thorns, which is lots about kind of early motherhood with a slightly pandemic slant on it. I had my second child in the middle of lockdown, which was an experience, but it made me write a hell of a lot of poetry, this is kind of about that feeling of becoming a mother and what it does to your brain, and it's called Stained Glass. Preparing for your arrival, I take apart pieces of myself, packing my old life, several of my dreams, my selfishness carefully away, like panels of stained glass before a rain of bombs. I bury them under the river of my blood, in the crypt, a hiding place where I can sometimes pore over them, remembering the pictures they once made. Your birth was the explosion, the blood and the fire. You made me a smoking pile of sleepless rubble and milk and shaken memories, and I'd never felt more beautiful. I claimed my new title with hungry hands, tried not to flinch at the sparks of colour that flashed in my body's arches, that lodged in my heart like tiny bright thorns with every deep breath. One day we will dig up that old glass together. Some shards will be broken, others missing, buried too deep. And you will show me how to make new pictures, your small hands surprisingly tender, careful with the fragments, holding them up to the light and shocking us both with their rainbows. Thank you. This next one. So I know that, you know, Twitter/X is a tricky place to be in a lot of ways. But one thing that it still gives me, and why I'm clinging on for a little bit longer, it's great for finding weird but lovely facts and tidbits and sort of articles. I've managed to like ruthlessly curate my feed, so it's all poets and like videos of owls falling over and sort of weird other little facts, and lots of them make my brain go, ooh, poem. And I read about this man with synesthesia, which is where your senses kind of get a little bit jumbled, and you can some people I've since met a woman with synesthesia who can smell memories, which I just think is the most incredible thing in the world. But this man, particularly the London Underground map, was a taste sensation for him, and every station had a very particular flavor. And I just thought that was very, very cool and needed to be in a poem. So this is called I Think About Falling in Love, and this was first published in And Other Poems last year. I think about falling in love, and the guy I read about who can taste the London Underground map. Maida Vale tanged with marmalade pith, Tower Hill's a ginger beer ring pull, spice and fizz. Queensway is thick, sweet, rimmed with cream. This is about the falling, mind you, not necessarily the landing. I think about my mum's best friend, colourblind, defining hues on others' terms, blue like curtains, red like flowers. It's like that, isn't it? Words like joy and gasp and shiver and daydream, offering up their red and blue innards, asking you to take a bite. And then this is a soppy one for my husband. My poor old husband does not get very many poems about him. The children have usurped it massively, and they tend to get the main poetic focus. But this is a sort of unashamed love poem to my very foodie, very lovely husband who, for context, we moved to France so he could learn how to be a cheesemonger for a few years. And then we came back again and carried on not doing that. But it was a marvelous and very strange bubble of 2 years during which we got engaged. So this is called terroir. Noun, the distinct characteristics of a wine caused by the environment in which it was grown. Noun, a sense of place. Noun, the way I am shaped by you. The night before you ask me to marry you, you bring home a chest of cheese, a gift from your boss at the market. We laugh at the abundance, at the way barns and mountain flowers and rain-soaked animal tang mushroom up and out into our tiny apartment. We're 5 floors up, but I imagine the waves of scent rolling slowly over the balcony like a waterfall of pungent honey. The wine glasses ring softly with anticipation. You lift each of your treasures tenderly onto the countertop, unwrapping the wax paper as if it's silk, and telling me stories of the farmers and their darkened mornings. Cubes of pork on greasy bread, or thick soup in enamel mugs before sunup, and the first milking. I can almost feel dew and fading starlight on my skin, the slow press of sleepy cows, warm bodies, light and flesh, clanging bells and creamy froth hitting buckets. I watch your hands flutter like an artist's might, as you show me the way the Langres is washed in eau de vie, the way the Mont d'Or is cradled by a circlet of spruce. I file these tidbits away in my cabinet of reasons for loving you. Tomorrow we will sip glasses of cold white wine, we will dip hunks of bread into molten gold, and under the tree, in a box tied with ribbon, will be a smaller circlet studded with a sapphire the colour of winter. I'll feel a shift in the horizon, the tiniest shiver of ripples across the surface of my glass. Yes, I'll think. Yes. That is for lovely Matt, who would spontaneously combust with embarrassment if he knew I were reading poems about him on the internet. So sorry, husband. It serves you right for being nice. Right. I've got 3 now from the new book, which is exciting. So this, which still is utterly boggling to me, this collection won the 2024 Poetry Business International Book and Pamphlet Competition, which is such a mouthful, but my God, I'm very excited about it. And this book is called Address with Deep Pockets, and it's basically a series of love letters to friends, and of all shapes, sizes, flavors, colors, from all walks of life. And I love that we had an English teacher poem earlier from Anne, which I really, really liked. This is a small love song to my terrifying middle school English teacher, who is wonderful, and I hope, part of me hopes, never reads this and is horribly offended. Fingers crossed she likes it if she does. Let's see. This is called Now I'm a Grown Up, I Can Call Her Linda. She was always too big for our pebble-dashed middle school, striding the corridors, braless in diaphanous gowns, voice like a vat of lemon curd. Her temper was legendary. Liam got a board rubber to the back of the head once. We were all scared shitless. I thought she was marvellous. This beefy operatic fable who told me I might be a poet, set me extra homework, got breast cancer when we were in year 7. I sent earnest cards, awful snippets about daffodils, best wishes for a speedy recovery, copied from my mum. She never wrote back. I'd like to meet her now, somewhere velvet and booming. I refuse to imagine her smaller. The bar of the Palais Garnier would do. I'd match her sequin for sequin, clink champagne saucers, turn heads, our laughter rising like geese from the marshes. Thanks for being scary, Linda. You are a marvel. And this one is for my lovely friend Stacey, who is actually my next door neighbour. We have lucked out in where we live, in that we've moved in next door to just someone who's ended up becoming a really, really close friend. And it's Stacey that introduced me to cold water swimming, which I'm very grateful to her for. This is called Selkie. I'm sitting in a damp towel watching Stacey shed herself in the water. Her tote bag next to me, mum stuff in a font called Smash the Patriarchy. Phone, keys, sketchbook, aquamarine engagement ring. And Stacey is untethering, wetsuited in the dawn fog. Her recipe for spinach pancakes, stubby coloured pencils, the persistent ringing in her ears, her Gwen Stefani impression, nervous driving, impulse to stroke every cat, the way she sits in galleries magnetised. All of it slicks the water, a marbling soft as a sigh. Behind me, trains follow the veins of estuary, and after a while, I walk up the hill and home. I leave the bag on the beach, just in case. And then the last one tonight is sort of the title poem for this new book. And it's about some of my closest friends and a lovely tradition that we have if we go on holiday together, of kind of fire pit, wine, and deep and meaningful conversations. So yeah, this is called The Four of Us in August. This is friendship like a jersey dress, comfortable and smart with deep pockets. The children are finally sleeping, sprawled, long-limbed and ringleted across the big bed. Outside, the four of us scrape garden chairs closer to the fire pit, slosh more of the good wine into our glasses. Owls glimmer in the trees, the moors are within touching distance. We're talking careers, future shaping, mapping our collective middle age, the same slightly outraged expression mirrored on each of our faces. We're mopping the last of the oil from our plates with crusts of bread. Now the fire is like water, lapping against the memory of wood. We watch the sparks climb, feeling special and ancient as stars. Later, in bed, my skin smells pleasingly of smoke. Thank you very much for having me. You're all brilliant.
Wow, I'm sure you will join me in being absolutely delighted that Jen was just sharing her work with us. Thank you so, so much. Whew. Oh, don't you love it when like words get inside you? Wow, lush. Absolutely desperately excited about this. And later on, we will be giving a little bit of space to people popping their socials in the chat, what you've been up to, so that we can get involved and check out people's stuff. So let me introduce you to our next reader, Janet. So Janet Philo is a long distance member of TWP, now living in Ashbourne. Being in Derbyshire is tricky for in-person stuff. Totally true. She's chairman of Ashbourne Writers, and being with writers once a month helps keeps the writing flame alive. Most recently, Janet has worked in several cover storybooks, new context anthologies, and has 2 solo pamphlets published by 3 Drops Press and Blacklight Engine Room Press. Amazing stuff. So please go absolutely wild for her as she comes to the microphone.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And Jen, that was just wonderful. What a spot to have to follow. But thank you, everyone. I've really enjoyed the night. This first poem of mine is my kind of bridge between Teesside and Derbyshire, because it was written on a workshop in Teesside when I was still a worker, really, the end of my working life. And now I'm a retired person, but it was about those days when you just want to go anywhere but go to work. You just want to turn left at the end of the street instead of right. And now I'm really, really proud to say it has a place in Derbyshire, because it's been picked up with a wonderful graphic designer, and that is now a travel poster on the platform at Belper Station. So I'm really quite thrilled about that. So Istanbul, after Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Let's go. Let go today. We could be at the Blue Mosque by tea time tomorrow. Sleep on a bench. Find a cheap flight. It won't be cold outside tonight. Remember the train to Penzance. It arrived at dawn. We stuffed newspaper down our pants to keep us warm. It didn't work, but we survived. People do. Dome, walls, minarets, tiles, are they all blue? What about the tulips? I don't know. We need to go. Imagine the air, too hot to breathe, and cinnamon foothills of spice and fire on tabletop landscapes in buzzing streets. A quiet courtyard, sunlit with citrus, and the cool shade of walled space, where the splash of a fountain ripples the mirror. Let's go. So thank you. This is definitely coming back to the Midlands. I've come full circle. I spent 32 very happy years in the Northeast, but was born in Derby. And I've come home really to the Midlands. And this is a Midlands childhood memory, really. My brother was an apprentice mining engineer, and he built for a project for his apprenticeship the best sledge ever, and better even than that, he took me sledging by moonlight to try it out. So that memory's stayed with me forever. So on Bull Hill, a rusty car coughs before it stops on untouched snow. Thigh-deep white soaks our double socks as wet flakes clump and drip between warm calves and welly tops. The sky, a silken black like our cat's back, paddling and purring in the fire glow. The stars are sharp as tin tacks, spilled from new packs in the shed, rolling out their sparks between the dark of the bottom ditch and a black lattice hedge of bare twigs, while we haul the whole cold metal weight, the green tubular frame and runners of a new-made wood-slat sledge, hitched with frayed baler twine, cutting dirty orange into wet wool gloves as crafty cold sneaks in. Fingers will burn with the pain of it. But now, all that matters is the moon. It hangs like a lamp low in the sky, low enough to reach, as frost sets the snow to shimmer in this once upon a winter night, and I lose myself in silence as we fly. And this final one, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Lud's Church. It is not a church. It's a piece of our geological past, a mysterious dark chasm penetrating the millstone grit bedrock above the village of Gradbach in Staffordshire. And it's a fascinating place. Once upon a post-glacial clock, a young forest slipped. Now, millstone grit, still slick with drips, descends in small uncertain steps towards a stone cold shade. The devil raked the mudstone floor, scarred it with a single claw, found faults and fracture planes, then perched and watched the ref as lichen the silver antlers grew, nudged the soft sprung moss. Feathered curves of fern spray the creviced walls and set the cold, clean air alight with green. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful.
It's been lovely to be here.
Thank you, Janet. Woo! Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your words, Janet.
Thank you.
We miss you in the Northeast, but also so delightful that we can kind of all be together again online.
Yes.
Amazing. So we've got 2 readers left for you. Let me introduce Aaron. So Aaron Murdoch, he says, 25 letters in the alphabet, 35 teeth in an average human skull, 2 facts drifting through time/space unconnected, but then Aaron Murdoch compiled the poetry of alphabetical teeth. Witness his struggle at keeping tonight's 2025 written into an emergency book edit. So please welcome him to the microphone.
Thanks very much. This is continued conning tinged with you. If that's a bit of a mouthful, just try saying a higher pitch. Well, whatever, anyway. Gestured to a forehead nod. Continue, no questions asked yet. Got what you want? Following, attentive. Let the record state on the audio creaks of actually happening, walls and furniture objecting. Continue, it actually had just doing. The pattern expecting, threaded along pursuing. I defy the ground on behalf of the sky, yelling at telepaths how rude first syllable try. Continue, but enough of distraction to let go. What plot line of reportage building up? Build a sitcom from not knowing how to play chess. Have the very first scene and shaking hands. Tech support representative chose with straw. Well, here's where the real president and prime minister, leading sport astonishing, and pop star everyone thought corpse, under this one roof. Their media androids performed. Occasionally, the real one has to use the avatar components. Mine and the hot girl's job is to strap them into controllers, to override android instinct to wave the baby overhead. As you can see, it's a road, but all houses knocked into one. Some days it's a prison, mostly playground, where they spy on their viewers, make prices go up, never down. Don't worry about election results. They get completely destroyed as running joke. Not in seats, the votes. Eaten, sewage tanker collision. Bottom line, can also time whenever nuclear missile. Well, your Android hasn't been delivered yet. That's all you need to know. Let's just connect. Oh, you've turned into a completely different person. So everything just said go through again. Wow, that last one must have caused pain. Continue down the hall, past televisions on and projecting to outside different families until curtains drawn. Of course, the outside can't hear this. Further along the master bedrooms, the best ones of all belong tech goons, what accusations, petty reasons clash against just general screaming that in order to get full vision on streaming, it would have to be the last sitcom as it wrestled against its continuity. Each reset brings episode. Think of repeat fees. Continue, meaning strip bare resources, so we continue using small recycling courses, because the problem hasn't just continued. The problem diluted could actually end. Leaders of the free will. Let's spend in ending thinking catchphrase. Wait, stop. Not a single one from cast be audience identifying done. All unpleasant in competition. Even tech goons, they chose to do this. Let's continue to write brighter. See beyond the society of televisions. Century or next day electricity signals. Time get from it deported mortal. Left behind to evaporate until it became a ditch. Continue, but this is crawling back up half the page. Thanks for listening. And then a couple of days later, I got involved in their poetry, the TWOOMPH poetry. Was it disabled poetics, whatever it was, and everything changed. That's again. Thank you very much, and I look forward to reading to you again in the near future. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Aaron, so much. Amazing. As usual, I was delightfully discombobulated, which I loved. Absolutely fantastic. Loads to think about. So our final reader for the night is Cheryl Mitchell. So Cheryl from Derby, recent member of Ashbourne Writing Group. I see what's going on here. She likes to write deep, meaningful poetry, but seems drawn to stuff that rhymes and has a comedic style. Makes it no less poetry than anything else. Amazing. Works at Derby Theatre, loves drama and creative learning, enjoys the gym, outdoors, and learning to play the piano, and now is here to share her work with us tonight. Please go absolutely wild as she comes.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much. Wow, what amazing work I've heard tonight. Absolutely fantastic. Well done, everyone. I'm trying to be a bit more deep and unrhymey, but for some reasons, I've got this kind of comedic kind of value to my work, which you'll see with the second one. Both of these poems that I'm going to read are from prompts that we've used at the Ashbourne Writing Group, and thank you to Janet for inviting me tonight and finding this wonderful group. This first one is about a place remembered, and you'll probably see what the place is once I've read it through. Through sideways sleet we battled, with flakes laying heavy on woolen-clad legs, like mini explorers pushing for the vertiginous summit of the coat peg. Excited chatter rising with air already cooked, flushing cheeks and noses the colour of covered exercise books. Ice-cold milk that would soon be snatched, sitting by radiators waiting to thaw, whilst we swayed like trees in vest and pants across the wooden floor. Discord from descant recorders that made blind mice run, and dinner ladies wince as cabbage cooked till overdone. Run the gauntlet of the outside bogs and their scratchy paper sheets, crashing into playground tag, dodging all the feet. Chalk and talk and multiplications in rote, we'd sit and fidget in line until those in tweed and twin sets clapped and called time. Yeah, I think I probably went to your school. Same school for everyone, I think. This second one was done from the point of view of my 3-year-old grandson, who has quite an aversion to hand dryers. And yeah, it's he's got a fascination with them as well. But as you will see, the monster in the loo, a toddler's POV. What's your thoughts on public loos? I'd really like to know. I imagine it's not a place you hurry to unless you really have to go. Making sure you go at home for that last and final wee or partial dehydration seems reasonable to me, because a thin threshold exists between fear and fascination, especially if you're a 3-year-old with a vivid imagination. A small and dingy room with a single hand dryer may just as well contain an angry monster breathing fire. But when you've got to go, then go. You absolutely must, although you know that tears may fall from a little one who trusts that you won't lie, that you'll be calm and quietly reassuring and protect him from the whooshing and the rasping and the roaring. So we dance around outside this loo to check the coast is clear. No one's there, it's all okay. It's what he wants to hear. Reaching heights of comedy and tragedy, the toilet is our stage, and a provocative performance ensues until I can definitely gauge that no one else is here. Hands over ears, eyes on stalks, backwards, forwards, sideways walks. Close our eyes and flap our hands, make for a cubicle and we're in. We won't use the hand dryer, I promise, we'll just shake. Then the sound of a bolt being drawn back. Oh no, big mistake. We make a dash. A woman goes to dry her hands. No, my eyes implore. And then the shrill cacophony as the beast begins to roar. The little one is mortified and stands screaming on the spot. He looks betrayed. He's every right. My stomach's in a knot. I scoop him up, and whilst comforting and reassuring that all is well, we exit to cafe safety and escape the jaws of hell. So you can keep your techno wind boxes and their keen wail. Give me paper sheets or a towel on a rail. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone, feel free to unmute yourselves. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Woo! Oh, it has been so good to hear the slices of life that have been shared tonight, and such a range and variety as well. It has been incredible to hear your stories, to be drawn into the things that are coming out of your brain on our inside. It's just wow. I'm gonna be digesting for a little while. Absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing and for joining us tonight for TWOOMPH. Just a little heads up. We are taking requests for mini spotlights for the rest of the spring. So our mini spotlight is a double slot. So obviously you're always welcome to come as an open micer. You're always welcome to come as audience, but a mini spotlight is just a space if you've got something to shout about or you'd like to try a longer slot. Maybe it's your first time trying a longer slot, in which case the team's behind you. Like, we're here to help. So if you're interested, you can kind of drop us a line. If you've done it a million times and you just want to let people know, or you just want to have a little bit longer, absolutely brilliant. So if you can email us at the email address that I've just popped in the chat, it's teaswomenpoets@gmail.com. That's for a double slot. It's for the mini spotlight, and we would love to hear from you, because we love hearing what you've got to shout about, and we're behind you all the way. So absolutely fantastic to have you tonight. We really enjoyed hearing from you all. Thank you so much to Jen, our incredible headliner, for your incredible poetry. Oh my goodness me. Aaron and Erasmus, thank you so much again for coming and helping us enjoy some puppetry this evening. To our wonderful open micers, thank you so much. And of course, my incredible heartfelt thanks go out to Hamera, who is a tech wizard and every single time knocks it out of the park, does amazing things, throws people out if they need to be thrown out, and makes sure that I don't have to run around like a headless chicken any more than I am, so that we all keep running smoothly. So thank you again for joining us this month, and we look forward to seeing you next month. It's the 4th Thursday of every month, so I know that's a little bit tricky to remember, so it is slightly different each month, but it's the 4th Thursday every month, and we really look look forward to seeing you next month with Tasmia Tahir.